Elon Musk has just offered an absolute masterclass in how to handle the powerful establishment libs. And he did so in an interview with the BBC. I just want to go moment by moment to enjoy this delectable lesson in rhetoric.
Describe a hateful thing.
Yeah, I mean, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
So the conversation begins with the accusation that under Elon Musk's pro-free speech or more pro-free speech Twitter reign, there's more hateful content on the site. That's the meme. That's the talking point from the liberal establishment. So how does Elon begin? He doesn't say, how dare you, I didn't do that, that's a lie, and X, Y, and Z, here are the reasons why. He says, what's an example? Give me just one example of the thing that you're talking about, or give me a more precise description. And the BBC journalist says, well, I have something sort of slightly racist or sexist. And so then Elon takes the free speech approach. He says, you're telling me if something is slightly sexist. He doesn't focus on race because being called a racist is the worst thing you can be called in our culture. He focuses on sex. He says, if something is slightly sexist, whatever that means. Is it sexist to say men and women are different? Is it sexist to say men and women aren't different? What does that even mean? Then you're telling me it should be banned. The BBC journalist says, well, no, not exactly.
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying...
Well, I'm just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content. And I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
Okay, put a pause there. This is a key. So Elon Musk begins by asking really for just more of a definition of what the guy's talking about. But then the guy brings up his own experience. So the BBC guy can't give a better definition or a better description because he's just parroting mindlessly the establishment talking point. Beep boop, Twitter more hateful, South African man bad. It's so awful what they do to Elon Musk, one of the most prominent African Americans in the world, and these racist whites, they just attack him. It's a point for another time. So Elon says, okay, well, now that you've brought your own Twitter feed into this, forget about giving me a better description. Give me a concrete example of what you're talking about, because Elon is inferring here, he's suspecting that, hold on, this guy, he's starting to change his story a little bit. I'm going to press even harder.
Honestly, don't you? Honestly, I
don't. You can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why, because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore, because I just don't particularly like it.
But you
and
said
actually, a lot of people are quite similar. I only look at
hang on a second.
following.
You said you've seen more hateful content, but you
hold on. Now there it is. Now Elon's got him. So he says, describe hateful content? Well, sort of if it's a little bit like this or that, this or that. Can you go further? Well, I've just noticed in my own feed, my Twitter feed is much more hateful. Oh, okay. Well, what's a concrete example of that? Well, actually, I don't really use my Twitter feed. So now Elon's got him, because now he's just caught this guy in a lie. The lie is, I've noticed that my Twitter feed has gotten more hateful. Says, okay, show me an example. Oh, I actually don't use my Twitter feed. Oh, so now I can't trust a word that you're saying. And one of the keys that allowed Elon to suspect that that's what's going on here is that the BBC guy was talking in very vague terms, and he was always hedging his bets. Oh, it's slightly sexist. Oh, it's a little more hateful. Well, I've just kind of noticed. Okay, that's a sign you have no idea what you're talking about. And on top of that, you're a liar. So now Elon just destroys this guy with facts and logic.
Name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
then how did you see the hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen for you hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
And you can't give a single one.
And I'm saying...
Then I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Yes, because you can't give me a single example of hateful content, not even one tweet. And yet you claimed that the hateful content was high.
Well...
That's a false.
No, what I claimed...
You just lied.
What I claimed was... there are many organizations that say that kind of information is on the rise. Now, whether it has on my feed
Give me one example.
Again, there it is. Huh? Now he's changed his story again. So Elon just asked a very basic question. How have you seen an uptick in hateful content if you haven't seen anything in your Twitter feed? Well, no, I just know because I used it before. Yeah, you used it before. You're alleging an uptick in hateful content. And by the way, you can't even give me one example from that period of time. So what are you talking about? And then what's he do? He changes the story again. He goes, no, well, I've just read reports, from these other liberal sources, and the reports say it. So I'm going to restate that as fact, and I'm going to lie and pretend it's been my own experience. But yeah, it's from liberal outlets that hate you. He goes on.
And
literally
can't name something
one.
like the Strategic Dialogue Institute in the UK, they will say that. So
look, people will say all sorts of nonsense. I'm literally asking for a single example, and you can't name one.
Right, and as
people
already
will
said,
say all sorts of nonsense. This BBC guy, I think he's being sincere in his disregard for the truth. I think he comes by that honestly. He comes by his dishonestly honestly. He thinks, well, that's just how all people talk. We just recite the liberal talking points. I didn't do it consciously. that's just what I do. And then everybody's saying it. That's what the outlets are, it's like Elon broke his brain. And what does Elon say? He says, yeah, well, people say all sorts of nonsense. It's like when now that I'm on the road, I'm going to these college campuses. When I talk to a young liberal, especially on an issue like transgenderism, which is so manifestly absurd, but which the liberal establishment has doubled and tripled and quadrupled down on, they'll look at me with this pitiful stare. They'll look at me and they won't have anything to say because all they'll be able to say is, but I was told this was true. But everybody says this is true, that men can be women. The answer to which is exactly what Elon said here. Yeah, people say all sorts of nonsense. That doesn't make it true. How is it true? Give me any example. And the poor BBC guy, he's a liar, but you almost feel for him because he's squirming, trying to dig himself out of this hole of lies that he's dug for himself.
Use that feed, but
then how would you know that?
I don't think this is getting anywhere.
You literally said you experienced more hateful content, and then couldn't name a single example.
Right, and as I said,
that's absurd.
I haven't actually looked at that feed.
Then how would you know there's hateful content?
Because I'm saying that's what I saw a few weeks ago. I can't give you an exact example. Let's move on. We only have a certain amount of time.
Well.
Yeah, let's move on. That's probably your best bet. I haven't actually seen it, but no, I did see it, but I didn't. But I read a report and I heard it from a person. And anyway, let's move on. And Elon's response is just perfect. Wow. Elon Musk is more intelligent than most people in public life. Probably pretty much anybody in public life. He's up there, okay? But Elon Musk talks in really plain terms. That is a sign of intelligence. And a lot of people are loath to do that because a lot of conservatives feel intimidated by the liberals. The liberals will use all these fancy words, all this academic jargon. They've got all their studies. Oh, we have our studies that can show you absurd things that we know are not true. And so a lot of people don't want to speak in plain language. The smartest people throughout all of history have by and large spoken in really plain language. Plato writes in a way that is clear and concise and can be understood by a 15-year-old just as much as by a 50-year-old. It's the people who use all sorts of silly jargon and who try to dance around facts and coin all these neologisms. Those are the people who you've got to watch out for. And so when Elon Musk speaks in these plain terms, that That's how we all ought to speak. Why is transgenderism wrong? Because men can't be women. But you don't even understand about the gender expression and all. You've probably never even read Foucault. Well, I have, but even if I hadn't, I don't need to read some 20th century weirdo to know what we all know to be true intuitively. Just those plain words. Even at that very end of the interview. Wow. Yeah. Wow. We have got a great AI challenge coming up from Mr. Davies over on the member block. So much to get to, so much more I had to say today. We'll get to a little bit in the member block. We'll get to a lot more tomorrow, and we'll get to a little bit tonight at UW Superior. If you're not a member, become one now, dailywire.com/Knowles. Promo code Knowles, Knowles. Get 2 months free on all annual plans. See you over at the member block.